So welcome to Halloween Addicts Anonymous for 2023. I'm excited. This is what we're going to work on. We're going to be working on spiced spider cider, and I know I had one person say they weren't going to paint it because they don't like spiders. And I was thinking, well, you could put something else there. You could put little pumpkins or little kitty cat heads or whatever. But please, if you ever don't like an element of a design, you're free to change it. I just want to show you, if you didn't see it already, what we're doing in March. This is If the Boot Fits, and I have to tell you, I sent out 43 orders on Monday. It was crazy, and I hesitated because I really liked this piece, and usually that's the kiss of death. Well, you can still get the wood, Claudia. You can just order it from Palette and Sawdust, Bev Canty, and she ships it out. Like, she's fast. If she gets your order in the morning, she probably ships it out the same day. And to be honest with you, she's cheaper than me because she has better equipment and gets her wood cheaper and everything like that. But yeah, this is what we're going to be doing next month. And then I'm not sure if April we're going to do I'm not sure if we're going to do Halloween again or if we're going to do a Christmas piece, because I know I told you we did it last year. I'm going to pop in a Christmas piece now and then, which sounds kind of weird for a Halloween class, but yeah. And these beads are just so fun. I'm becoming a bead addict now. In the picture you couldn't see them all. Now you might get some different ones. In fact, I got some new ones in yesterday that have green ones and different things. So buy lots of beads because I have plenty. Anyway, so that's what we're going to be doing next month. So we are going to work on this green plate first. So I hope that you have your pattern on. And what we're going to do first is we're going to do some of that old dry brushing. As you can see, I've been doing some already today, working on another project. But you want to get out light lime if you have it. If you don't, you can always just lighten up your Irish moss a little bit and use that to dry brush with. And as always, if you haven't seen how I dry brush, I'll show you. Let me see if this brush is dry. I like to use Langnickel short round sable brushes. I've had trouble getting them lately, but there was a little piece of paint on there. How rare. And so I like to use these. They're a nice soft sable tech brush, and I use them for dry brushing and for stippling and for smooshing and anything else I can think of to use them for. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my palette, and I'm going to show you how I like to load this brush up for dry brushing. So what I like to do first is the brush is dry, okay? So don't add any water to it. That's the first thing. So I'm going to load some paint into this brush, and then I'm going to run it around in circles on my palette. And what I'm doing is I'm working that paint into the bristles so that, you know, it's spread out in there and I can dry brush a little longer. Right. So then I go to my towel. And let's see if you can see my towel. I wipe this on my towel and wipe out some of the paint. Again, I want it to be dry. If I left that paint in there, it would be too wet. And then I go to my hand, and as you can see, I've been doing blue and white and yellow. So I'm going to go over here, and when I hit my hand and start scrubbing it around, it's kind of cold. And as I scrub it around, it loses its coolness. And to me, that's a good indicator that I've taken enough paint out of this brush that I can go to my piece and I can dry brush, and and it'll be not blobby. If it's blobby, I just wipe out some more paint. So I'm going to go in between each of those little lines that I put on as guides for my spider web. You see, I could take out a little bit more, but I think I'll be okay here. So I'm just going to dry brush. Now that don't freak, because this is going to have the webbing over it. So if it's a little blotchy, it'll be okay. So I'm going to dry brush in between these things. Now I need to pick up a little more paint. So I'm going to go through the same steps of rubbing it around on my palette, wiping it on my towel, going to my hand. And I'm going to wipe, and let's see, I can get a little bit in here. I'm going to go in here. And guys, I ended up with so many painted pieces that I am just going to paint one tonight, and we'll see how it goes. I'll try to pace myself. And Marie, if I miss saying your name, I apologize. I'm trying to pay attention to my painting, but I want to recognize you too. And I'm going to work on getting people to give me stuff so I can give you free giveaways too. How's that? I stay kind of quiet and I used to call it being a toll whore, walking around trying to get free stuff. But how sad is that? That's pretty bad. And I also want to dry brush along this lower edge here a little bit. Again, I'm going to reload my brush. And I'm just going to tuck some dry brush color, and that was light lime. You know, I used to use a program where I could put up the colors, names, and stuff like that. But when I started having issues of being able to live stream, and I had some trouble because it would freeze up and stuff like that, I decided the fewer programs I need to go through to get to a live stream, the better. So until I figure out how to get those fancy little words up there again, you're just going to have to listen hard and look at your pattern. All right, so there we have some light lime highlighting. So you can wash your dry brush out now. But we're going to use it again later, so kind of dry it out. That's what I like about these brushes, is I can scrub them on my towel and dry them. You see Patrina's peeking. She's with me now. She said apparently she needs a friend. That's what Lynn decided. So I guess we'll paint a friend for Patrina. Anyway, so now what we want to do is we want to take a liner brush. This is a 4. And there's this rim, the front rim. I can barely see my pattern on there. But what I want to do is I want to line the highlight on that little front edge, that front rim of the plate, with my liner brush and light line. So I'm just gonna, no water, I'm not adding water, I'm just picking up some paint. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull it from the side here. So I'm gonna start way up here on this edge. Oops. I'm gonna do a better job, I think. Maybe come from this way. It doesn't have to be perfect, obviously. But if yours is perfect, it's okay. Just don't tell me yours is perfect. So I'm just going to line, and it doesn't have to be like a one continuous line. It can be kind of sketchy. It's okay. We're just lining a highlight across that front rim of the plate. Aren't you glad it doesn't have to be perfect? I know I am. So now what I'd like to do is we want to get out some lamp black. I know I have it here somewhere. There it is in the bottom of my pile of paint. So lamp black, and we're going to start doing that web on the plate. So get out a little lamp black, and this is going to be liner consistency, and you want to use I'm going to use this number 1 liner, but I'm not going to keep it on the tip. I'm going to make the web a little bit heavy. You want to do it heavy because we do have to line a highlight. And so here's a clue for you. If you don't want to do that many highlights, don't line that many little cross things on your web, okay? So I'm going to thin my lamp black paint down to liner consistency. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to line the main line. So I'm just going to go all the way around this plate and line just those main lines of the spider web. Okay, really it should go all the way there. And then let's get, ran out of paint. So now we can go back in between, and oh, there must be one here. No, I guess there's not. I lied. So I'm going to start with this guy over here, and I'm just going to line this curved other part of the web. And here's where you don't want to get too carried away, because we do have to line a highlight on those. And then this one back here, you don't want to, you want to make it, pretend like it's all going to meet here in the middle. So kind of keep that in mind. It's not just filling up the web with these curved lines. You got to keep an idea of where these curved lines are going. And they're all going like right about in here, if you were to take this cup off the plate. Okay. So if you get liner consistency paint and stay up on the tip of your brush, you should be able to do these pretty quickly. You don't have to make them a career. So now this guy, he's going to go from here, but he's going to get tucked under the cup. So then I'm going to come back out on the other side. So spider webs don't really have to take all that long. You don't have to be all that neat with them. They're spiders, goodness sakes. I did see my largest spider ever since moving here to Oklahoma, but it wasn't like a man-eater or anything. It was a very interesting spider. It hung around for a long time too. As long as it stayed outside, I was fine. All right, one more little web to do. You know, I had this whole design started, totally different look. It was still Spice Spider Cider, but I just didn't like it. So it went in the trash and we started over. So we need to let this spider web dry a little bit, because what we want to do next is float some shading. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to these purple areas on the piece. And those are painted in Perfect Perry or lavender or whatever you have. We are going to dry brush some highlighting in those with Purple Petal. I like Purple Petal. It's a pretty color. See, I told you we were going to use our dry brush again. So you want to make sure it's dry. Same routine as with the lime, the light lime. Load your brush, scrub it around on your palette a little bit, wipe it on your towel, and go to your hand. Now, I'm going to end up with paint all across the back of my hand and down here onto my thumb. That's just the way it's going to go. It's going to look real pretty, and hopefully I'll remember to wash it off before I go to bed. So, I'm just going to dry brush some highlighting inside that negative space that's up there by the curl of the whipped cream. And I also want to go inside this handle. And now we're going to get out Purple Iris. If you don't have Purple Iris, you could do this with Dioxazine Purple. You don't need much, just a dot. We're going to float shading inside these two areas. Ooh, the dreaded shading. I'm gonna do this in two sections. I'm gonna do one half and then come back and do the other half. So I've got one side of that done, and I'm gonna do the same thing with the handle. All I'm gonna do is float some Purple Iris. Okay, and now I'm going to go back and I'm going to turn this over and do the other side of this little negative space. And then I'm going to do the rest of the inside of the handle. Alright, kind of like this color, Purple Iris. It's one of the newer ones. Okay, now if you're like me, I like to mop out my floats just to soften them a little bit. So I'm going to mop this float just to soften it up a little bit. I think this one's pretty good because it's going to get covered with a spider anyway. And now I didn't put it on the pattern and I apologize, but there is a spider web in this handle. And really easy peasy. Just take your chalk pencil or a regular pencil or whatever, put a little dot in kind of the center of this open space, and then just like we did on the plate, just draw some arms out to make this spider web. This spider web is painted with warm white. So you want to get out just a little warm white. You don't need a lot right now. And again, with liner consistency paint. And this one, you can make this spider web a little more delicate. It doesn't have to be quite as heavy as the black spider web was, because we're not going to line a highlight on this little one, if you can believe that or not. But so I'm just going to line those arms. you should be a spider web aficionado by the time we're done with this piece. And then I'm just going to go through and do like I did on the black one, on the black spider web. I'm just going to line those little curved sections. So, just building spider webs. This one. And I'm not going to do spider webs on the next piece, that's for sure. There we go, almost done. Alright, cute little spider web in that handle. So now we are going to go back to our plate and float some shading. And we're going to do that. We're going to do it all the way around the rim here on the top of the plate. We're going to do it under that front edge that we highlighted. And we're also going to do it next to each of those main lines of the spider web. Both sides, okay? I think I did both sides. Maybe I only did one side. Do one side, and then if it doesn't look right, we'll do both sides. But that's going to be with black, I think it's black forest green. Yes, black forest green. Hold my paints here. They're looking at me. And do you think I can find what I need when I'm looking for it? Of course not. So, get my flat brush out. Oh, and you're also going to float on the plate next to the cup. So I think the best thing to do would be to float on the plate next to the cup first. Black forest green is a very pretty color, and it plays well with Irish moss for this piece. So I'm just going to go all the way around under this cup. All right. And again, I'll probably mop this float just to soften it a little bit. And I'm going to go under that handle. Alright, so then I'll probably go, I'm going to go on this plate here right at, next to the top little arm of the spider web. Okay, I'm not going to go next to each one, I just did this outside one. All right, starting to look good. I hope yours is too. All right. Oops, got a little heavy there. Get that off. Okay. Glad I didn't put more spider webs. Oh my goodness. It's like it's a Monday or something. Kid you not, I just like right before this class had a Zoom meeting with some family, and I thought, oh, that went really well, you know, video wise and everything. And I was really glad. And then when I go live on Facebook, I'm like, it won't go, it won't go. And it's going, oh, you've got to be kidding me. And then I realized, yeah, you know what? You need to toggle this one little switch, and then it will go. All right, so now I want to go under this front rim. All right. So let's soften that a little bit. All right, now we can go back, and I do believe I only did one side of those. It's, you know, when you paint these things months in advance, you kind of forget what you did. So I'm just going to go next to one of those main arms all the way around. And let's go, since I did the lower side on that side of the plate, I'm going to do the lower side on this side of the plate, if that makes any sense at all. Okay. It was so nice to start painting with these bright colors again. Oh, it was so nice. I missed them. I have a hard time painting with normal colors. All right. Now I also want to float shading along this bottom edge of the plate. And so this float should be dry enough that I can go in there and do that. Yeah, just pop a little bit of shading along that lower edge. All right, cool. Plate is looking good, if I say so myself. Now we're going to come with our liner brush again, and this time with warm white. Thin it down a little bit. I want to brighten up this highlight across this front edge of the plate. I'm not going to take it all the way to these sides here. I'm just going to go probably, you could probably end it where this bottom of the plate comes in. But we just want to brighten up that highlight across that front edge. We kind of lost it a little bit. So liner say that 3 times real fast. Liner consistency paint. I'm going to start in the middle because that's where I want to lay down most of the paint until it just kind of trails off there. And then I'm going to come from this side and let it trail off. So we highlighted that front edge just a little bit more. And now we want to line highlighting on the webs. And don't make this a career. It's just a little quick highlight on just about everything you lined as far as the spider webs go. So every little curvy part of the web and the long arm are going to get just a little touch of warm white highlighting across them. And if I was to stay on screen, that would probably be better for you, wouldn't it? So it doesn't have to be perfect, obviously, but you just want to touch a little highlight on those webs. It just makes them stand out a little bit more. Otherwise, they're just there, and they can't be. If you know me, I don't leave anything alone, really. If there's a line there, I probably highlight it, and if I don't, people want to take my temperature and find out what's wrong with me, because that's what I do. I line highlights on things that normal people wouldn't. But then, how many of us painters are really normal? I don't know. Normal is boring. I'd rather be abnormal. Okay, so we just have some highlighting on that webs. Now there are a few places where I want to deepen the shading on my plate, and that's going to be under my cup and also under this rim. So that again is just with black forest green. You just want to deepen it a little bit. Not everywhere you shaded. Well, let's just do it under this cup. And that's going to tone down any highlights that you put on your web. But that's okay right there. It's really fine. It was good practice, right? And if you want to start and stop your float at the breaks in the web, the spider web, that makes it easy. You don't have to try to blend back into your float. And now this, like I said, this video will be available for replay, I think immediately after this video ends on Facebook, but then I'll have an edited version up on my YouTube channel in just a couple days. I edit out some of my ums and ahs and those kind of things. So I'm going to float again under this front edge of this plate, just to deepen it and make that front edge stand out even more. So much work just on the plate. All right. I hear it raining again. It's okay, we needed it. All right, so now let's go to the cup. We are going to work on it. So I'm going to call the plate done. You can always go back and deepen shading here and there if you want. Actually, I see a place where I should have shaded and I didn't. So let's go back to the plate. I got ahead of myself. Just a couple more floats. All I'm going to do is float on these outside edges of the plate. So, and again, I'm off camera. I'll get used to it, you guys. Get back into the swing of things. All right. So there. I just wanted to deepen these side edges here, those of the plate. So now we can go to the pumpkin cup. And it's painted like I usually do any of my pumpkins. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to dry brush and float some highlighting with golden straw. So now I need to stare at my paint and figure out where my golden straw ended up at the bottom again. So I'm going to dry brush first. So I want to make sure my dry brush is dry. I'll get some yellow on my hand again. Let's do the handle. I'm just going to dry brush this golden straw through the handle, just through the center of that handle. And then I'm going to go down the center of each of these sections. And they're called flutes of the pumpkin, those little sections. I actually looked that up once. So each of those sections, I'm going to dry brush some golden straw. Down each section. Now you don't have to dry brush where this label is going to go. You can dry brush above it and below it. Okay, another above and below. And it's gonna, the pumpkin is gonna look ugly for a while. It's gonna go through puberty. And it's just not gonna look good. But trust me, it'll look better by the time we're done. Haven't lied to you yet during this class. I don't think. And if I did, I apologize. Okay. I'm getting there. All right. And then I want to come back and I want to float highlighting with golden straw. Now I'm going to go to a larger brush. This is actually a 3/4 inch. You could use a 16 or a 1/2 inch. But I'm going to go to a bigger brush because I want to blend my float out a little bit more and have it travel a little bit further across those sections, those flutes. So I'm going to start on the outside edge of my pumpkin, and yes, it's going to look bright, but it tones down, so don't panic. By the time I get over here, that's not going to look quite as bright. And anytime I paint pumpkins, these are the steps that I go through. Now see, this is the reason I didn't have you paint the label in, because then you would have had to try to work your way around it. Now you can just go through it and we'll paint it on top. I knew there was a good reason for why I didn't have you do the label. And now I'm going to turn my pumpkin over so I can do the other side. Just nice floats of golden straw. I usually do end up lying to you at least once, but I haven't yet. And it's usually not a hurtful lie. It's a mistake. And one more. All right. There we go. And see, this is toned down already. If you compare it to these last floats that I did, it's toned way down. Oh, I guess I should probably go ahead and float a little highlight on the top of this handle. I'm not going to go all the way. I do it on the top of this top edge of the handle, and then I do it on the top of the bottom edge of the handle. So if that makes any sense at all. So across the top here, and then the top right there. Okay? Right there where my finger was covering it up. All right, now we're going to float some shading. And this is what I always do with pumpkins. All right, we are going to float shading, our first shade, with Country Red. Okay. This is the way I've been doing it for years, and I don't know, I just like putting some red into my pumpkin. So I'm going to go, it's like a back-to-back float right next to where I highlighted with golden straw. There's a little bit more shading than there is highlighting. So let's go down each of these. And see, it looks better already. But wait till the next shade goes on. Wouldn't be right if I didn't have paint all over myself. So again, I'm going to turn this over so I can do the other side. Okay, so just nice floats of Country Red that butt up against your golden straw highlight. My husband has been trying to pour concrete all week, and the first day he had it scheduled, the cement plant was running way behind, and it would mean he'd be finishing concrete at midnight, so that wasn't going to work. And then we've had 2 days of rain. So he's going to try again on Friday. He's building us another garage. We have 3-car garage, but we need another one to house all the gardening equipment. All right, so now that I've got that, you want to also, I didn't even say it, but on the handle next to the main part of the pumpkin cup. So now we're going to go under the whipped cream. I love using a big brush to float. If you're using a little one, every once in a while, give it a shot. Try a bigger one. You can really blend and get nice soft floats with a bigger brush. I'm a kind of a big brush person. Not a big brush, but I like to use big brushes. I like big brushes, and I cannot lie. And I don't sing, so that's all you're getting from me. Again, I'm going to soften that out a little bit. Now I'm going to go to the bottom. And I'm going to float across the bottom. And you see, I started up the side a little bit on this. And I stopped when I got to the next section, because I'm going to start up the side on this section and then come across the bottom. And I'm going to do that on every section. I'm going to start up the side of it a little bit and then come down and across. It just helps to give you the idea that those are actually, it's not flat. It's kind of got some dimension to it. And on this one, on the middle one, I'm going to start up the side a little bit, come across the bottom, and then I'm going to come back up the side just a tad. Will plants be different? Plants? Plants, yes, they will be. Right now they all look dead. That's one thing I haven't gotten used to. I was used to having a nice green lawn and lovely plants year round, and I'm not so keen on this dead grass and dead plant things and trees with no leaves, but I'll adjust. It'll be okay. We had beautiful cactus that we brought with us, and they did excellent until we got our first freeze. And they didn't like it. But, oh well. You can always go back to California and buy more, right? Okay. We also want to float Country Red around the label. Okay, so now, if you have it, as I always say, get your handy dandy Ranger Heat It craft tool, and let's dry those floats a little bit. Doesn't take much. If you don't, a hair dryer will work. I love the Heat It craft tool because it's quiet. Can use it in class and it doesn't bother other people. So we are going to float shading again. Oh, I guess I should do it on this handle. I always keep forgetting the handle. So we're not going to float shading again. I almost lied. I'm going to first float some shading along the lower edge of this handle, and then inside on the lower edge of the top of the handle. Okay, cool. Now we're going to float shading again. And this time we're going to do it with burnt umber. And it's going to be everywhere that we floated Country Red. You're going to float some very well blended out burnt umber. You don't want it to be real harsh, so blend it out really well. And what I mean when I say I want you to blend it out really well, let me go over here to my palette again. And again, I'm using my big brush. I'm going to corner load just like I would regularly, and then I'm going to blend. And normally when you blend for a float, you're blending all in the same line. But when I want to soften that float, I walk away from that line. And you can see it get softer, right? So I want to soften that float, and I'm going to go everywhere I went with Country Red. So let's go here. It just makes a really nice color. And then don't forget to go down here. It needed the red underneath. To go straight to burnt umber, probably wouldn't have been, it would have been okay. But the red just gives it a nice color. And it reminds me of chocolate covered cherries or something, which are my favorite. So need a little bit more moisture in that brush. And I'm going to mop that side. Okay, I think it just gives it a nice color by adding the burnt umber on top of the red. But if you want to go straight burnt umber, you're fine. That's fine with me. I won't flunk you. So, I'm not sure I'm sold on this starting time. Would you guys want to keep it at 7? Do you want to start, I'm talking Central Time? We could start an hour earlier. This is just what I picked. I used to do this, when did I use it? On Sunday afternoons. But like Sandy, McTeer, and a few other people do a lot of things on Sunday. So I didn't want to compete with them. And so that's why I moved it to Wednesday night, a weeknight. You're right, it gives it depth. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you, Sandy. All right, and now I'm going to go under the whipped cream. If I'm struggling to find words and you know what word I should be saying, please type it in there. Help a girl out. I can paint a little bit, but sometimes I can't talk. I'm going to go to my handle and deepen the shading on that next to the pumpkin. Let's go in the bottoms again. Remember, I started up on the side a little ways and then across the bottom. So I'm going to do that again. Up on the side and then across the bottom a little bit. I'm coming at it a different way this time. Trying to be versatile. And let's do this side. Here, I have it on a turntable and I pick it up and turn it around. How's that for being smart? Oh, my goodness, sand. All right. Slowly but surely. go back to our handle and float on the bottom. And then also inside. I'm having a little issue here, but it'll be okay. Handy mop. And we need to go around the label. And this is all with burnt umber. It doesn't matter if you don't do it perfectly right, because we're going to paint over it, right? Slowly but surely we'll move along and create our first piece for 2023. Can't believe I've been doing this for quite some time now. All right. So there we go. So now we're going to come in and we're going to paint the label in, and it doesn't have to be opaque. We're going to paint that with light buttermilk, which I've been using this color a little bit, quite a bit lately. I hadn't used it in years, and I don't know why. It's a nice color. So I'm just going to quickly paint in this label. My brush had a little bit of water in it, so it's not as solid as it should be. There we go. Doesn't take too long to paint this in, if you stay in the lines, I guess. Try not to let your label get bigger and bigger and bigger, because you're going outside the lines like me. Oops, I feel my hand getting in paint. So be on the lookout for a paint splotch that doesn't belong there when I put my hand down. Alright, so one coat. We'll come back and give it another coat in a little bit. But we're going to go work on our straw up here. And that was painted in with warm white. So we want to paint these wide stripes here with Irish moss. It's a color we haven't pulled out yet. Here again, I'm looking for it. So I'm going to paint the stripes with Irish moss. Now if you wanted to, you could get out some painter's tape and tape off the edges. Just to give you a little bit more comfort level painting those stripes. Probably have about 4 rolls of painter's tape in that drawer right next to my table. I don't trust myself very often. So Irish moss. And this doesn't have to be opaque either. Try not to glue it to your thing, and there I did it again. I should have taped off the stripes itself. All right, a couple more stripes to go. or 1.5 stripes. These seriously do not have to be opaque. And then we can go ahead and get out a little bit of burnt orange, which is the color we based our pumpkin in, and line a thin stripe on either side of those green stripes. So liner brush. I guess you could have left your tape on, but you really don't need to. I'm just going to give us a thin little stripe on either side of that green stripe. All right, straw's looking pretty good. Let's go back down and see about, I gotta dry this label a little bit, but we'll give the label another coat, and that's light buttermilk. 2 coats will do. Okay. So, this is your lesson on base coating. No, I'm just teasing. Everybody knows how to base coat. Right. Obviously, I can't base coat straight, but it's all right. It'll be okay. Not worried about it. So then we're going to, let's go to our whipped topping, and while we let some of these things dry, and we are going to dry brush some, I'm going to use a bigger dry brush this time. We're going to dry brush some warm white on our topping, just to, you know, it's not going to show up a whole lot, but it will when we get our shading on. So I'm going to go, keep your arm out of your up in this little curl. Hopefully you have your pattern on for your little folds and things. Let me find my warm white back, because I don't have a lot out here. So, same old routine with the dry brushing. So I'm going to get up into this curl. I guess you can kind of see it a little bit. So basically, I'm going to dry brush all over, but I'm going to stay within the confines of these folds and things that are in the whipped cream. I didn't take enough paint out, but luckily it won't matter for this. Okay. And I want to get over here on the other side of this straw. And then there's another little layer or fold in the whipped cream here. I want to lighten up that. Let's see, we'll get one here. And there's some here. basically go through the center of each of those folds and dry brush some highlighting. If you don't get it just right, it's okay. No big deal. Trust me. I say that a lot. You know what that usually means is you can't trust me. Okay, so I've scrubbed warm white paint all over my frosting. So I'm going to go back to my straw now. We're going to jump around a little bit here. And we are going to dry brush highlighting on the green stripes with that light lime, which was that very first color we got out. It's what we dry brushed highlighting on the plate with. So I'm going to... See, I'm going across the whole back of my hand now. Just going to dry brush highlighting on the green with some light lime. And then the orange stripes, we're going to take our liner brush. Again, I'm using my little one, my one, and I'm going to take some golden straw. Remember I told you if there's a line there, I'm going to line a highlight on it, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to line a highlight on those orange stripes just through the center with golden straw. So we'll let that dry. Let's see, is our label dry? So I'm going to get the pattern out now, because I want to let that dry before I come back and dry brush on it again. I'm going to get my pattern out that I have here somewhere for my label, and I'm going to put the pattern on for the lettering, which is going to require my dark graphite. Probably should line this up a little bit more. Okay. And you can put the pattern on for those spiders too. And all you need to do on the spiders is just do the circle and the oval. You don't need to do the whole thing. And on the lettering, just go through the middle. And I did not make you a stencil. If you want to do your lettering at a different time when it's not so late, that's fine. But I'll do mine tonight, and it'll be okay. So I'm just going through the center of each letter. I'm not really paying attention to the stirrups on the end or anything like that, or even the dot above the I. I'm just going to put a line through the center of each letter. And I have a little spider down here. Let's get up here. We can put our spider on. Well, it doesn't matter if it's dark because you're going to paint them in with black anyway. So one there. Get one up here. I'm extremely glad I didn't make any more spider webs. Now let me get out my other pattern so I can get that other spider on there. Oh, cool, nice little spiders, if there is such a thing. We had leftovers today. Okay, cool. And I didn't put the pattern on for that little stripe that goes around the label. I figured we could do that. We could figure that out. So we are going to float shading on the outside edges of this label with desert sand. So you want to get some desert sand out, and we're going to use that on the whipped cream too. And I am going to use my big brush again because I want it to be a nice wide flow. So I'm just going to go in this side, go right through that spider. It's okay. I'm just going to walk that color out. And then, look, I'm using the turntable. I'm not picking it up. Maybe I've learned. I wouldn't count on it, though. And so I'm doing both outside edges. Not the top and bottom, just the outside edges. And then that stripe I was talking about. We are going to line that stripe around the label with Indian turquoise, or as they're calling it now, turquoise, so as not to offend the Native Americans. You don't need much. Liner brush again, thin it down a little bit. Again, it's a line, so that means I'm going to line shading and highlighting on it, so don't make it so thin. And I'm just going to go not with that much paint on my brush, just a nice stripe around this whole label. I got a goober. Oh, well, we'll live with it, I guess. I've learned that my paints don't like being cold, much like myself. Okay, easy peasy, little stripe. Again, I went right through those spiders. All right, so we are going to line a little bit of highlighting on this stripe, the top and the bottom, just with some warm white. So your liner brush and warm white, and just line a little bit of a highlight on that stripe. If you want to do the side, you can too, but I don't think I did. I didn't. I just did the top and bottom. And now we're going to get out a new color, True Blue, just a dot. And we're going to line shading in the corners. I think you can see that here, just in these corners. I want to line a little bit of True Blue. It just kind of makes the stripe a little more interesting, right? And that's what we're going for, is an interesting stripe. And it's just because I can't leave anything alone. My stuff looks cute and simple, but I managed to turn it into quite a bit of work. And now I got my finger in here. So let's clean that off. That never happens to you, right? Never set your finger down in your fresh paint. And let's line the shading in this corner. All right, there we go. Now the next thing in your directions, it says we're going to work on the lettering, but I'm going to save that for last. Just because I know some of you are going to want to do that tomorrow. So let's go back to our straw, and we're going to dry brush some highlighting on the straw. And that's going to go just a little bit right of center. Okay, it's just a dry brush of warm white. It goes through all the stripes. Okay, and if it gets a little too bright, it doesn't matter. That's perfectly fine. So I'm just going to go right through all those stripes. This is why I wanted them to dry a little bit. So I didn't want to drag green and orange through the straw. And then we're going to get out another color we haven't used yet, and this is the only place we use it, I think. But we're going to need slate gray. So you definitely don't need a lot of this. We are going to float some shading on our straw. I could have used a blue or something, but the slate gray seemed to work the best. Flat brush, nice blended out float. I'm going to go up and down both sides, across the bottom, and then I'm going to do a couple little C strokes in the inside of the straw. So I'm going to start here, and I go right across all the stripes. One side done. Let's get the other side. I'm going to go across the bottom here where it's stuck into the whipped cream. I think that deserves a little bit of a soften. And then 2 little C strokes to form the inside of the straw. So I'm going to do a C stroke on this side, and then just flip my brush over and do the C stroke on the other side. And that forms the inside of that straw. All right, let's go back to our whipped cream. And what I want to do is I want to float some highlighting with warm white on these folds and things. So basically I'm going to go on these outside edges and float some warm white. And let's see, yep, there. And as I said, it's going to show up more when we get our shading in there. So then I also want to go back to the other side, and I'll float some warm white highlights there. On each of these bumps or humps or whatever they are. And this one, I'm going to go all the way across the top. And then I'm going to come and go across the top of each of those folds, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to go right over this spider. And I'm just going to highlight the top edge of this fold here. And you can kind of see it more now. And let's see, let's get another fold. Now this one goes right in front of the straw. So that helps to tuck that straw into the whipped cream a little bit. And then it kind of comes down here and joins that other fold right there. And we have this one. And if you don't, if these aren't just exactly the way they are on the pattern, it's okay. It's really fine. I didn't go squirt out whipped cream and see what it looked like. I just kind of did it. And then this one goes into there. And let's see, I think that's about it. I'm going to put a little bit on this curl. All right. that looks pretty good. It looks kind of yummy myself, if I say so myself. So we are going to go in and float shading on our whipped cream with desert sand, which was the color we used on the label. Believe it or not, we're getting kind of close to being done. Only an hour and a half, that's not too bad. So what I want to do is I want to float shading across this bottom edge of the whipped cream. Nice soft float, okay? Nothing harsh. Okay. And then we're just going to move up and do along the bottom of the next little fold. I'm just ignoring those spiders for now. It's starting to look yummy. Gonna do this one. Stop when I get to the straw. And I'm gonna start on the other side of the straw and take it all the way. And then let's see. There's a little bit of one right here. And we will come and float next to the straw too. And it comes in and kind of dips down a little bit there. And then comes back up. I also want to float desert sand here in the tip of the curl. Alright, we want to go next to the straw. So let me get out my handy dandy dryer here. Dry that real quick. And let's just float this desert sand right next to the straw. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back with a dry brush of desert sand. I'm going to dry out my brush quite well. And I'm going to just kind of dry brush some areas to make it look like there's a little bit more of a fold or a crease here and there. Wherever there's like a dip or a curve or anything like that, you want to add a little bit of this dry brushing just to give it a little bit more, I guess we're going to say realism, or a little bit more depth. So I had this dip here and this dip here, so I'm going to dry brush a little bit of desert sand in there. And I'm going to go right here next to this curl. You just kind of look at the piece and decide, I think this needs to be reinforced. Like here, right here, I need to dry brush a little bit more desert sand there, just to make it look like it has a little bit more dimension. And anywhere else I want to put it, I'm maybe gonna go right here a little bit. Okay, I think that's about it. So that works for me. Now, if you need to, you can always come back and float the highlighting with warm white again here and there, but I'm pretty happy with this, so I'm not going to do that. But in your directions it says, like, if you wanted to brighten up these side edges a little bit, you could float a little bit more warm white. So now our spiders, we want to get out our lamp black, and I'm going to use a nice round brush. You have lamp black on your palette, if you can crack it open. And I'm just going to go around and I'm going to paint all of my spiders in. Their bodies are ovals. And their heads are more circles. But if their heads turn into ovals, it's okay. Just some creepy spiders. Okay. How many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5. Always an odd number, right? Thankfully, lamp black paints on fast. His little body needs fixed. Okay. All right. And let's see, 2 more to go. See if I can keep my hand out of that spider down there. His body got a little wonky, but that's okay. Spiders aren't perfect, right? So all of these spiders that are on the whipped cream, I'm going to take my liner brush and some thinned desert sand, and I'm going to line, I think you can see it here, I'm just going to line a shadow on the whipped cream to the inside of the spider. So this spider gets it on the left side, and this little spider is going to get it on the right side. And where these spiders are on top of the label, I'm going to do it on that also. So don't worry about where it's on purple or where it's on orange. Just line a shadow on the whipped cream next to the spider's body. This guy, you just want to line it next to his head and his bum. This guy's going to get on the inside edge here. Kind of can help clean up your spider a little bit too. And this guy is going to get on the right side. And this little guy just gets his little head outlined, just to add a shadow there. I said don't worry about the other one, but on the orange you want to use burnt umber. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Obviously I didn't see it, so oops, that's a little dark. Luckily I wasn't really on camera. So where it's on the orange, you just want to line a little bit of burnt umber. It's just going around their bumps, basically. And now we are going to line a highlight on their body and their head with Indian turquoise. So I'm just going to liner brush and Indian turquoise. I'm just going to line this little highlight. And it goes on the spider opposite side of where we lined that shadow just now. So these guys down here got it in the left side. This guy's going to get it in the right side. And then these two are going to get it in the left side. I'm trying to keep my arm out of it. Doesn't that make the spiders look cute? Alright, now they have little legs. Spiders have 8 legs. And they are painted, I painted them like strokes with lamp black. If you wanted to cheat and use a black pen, you're more than welcome to do that. I won't know unless you tell me. Lamp black and your liner brush again. I'm going to start with this top guy. And I'm just going to give him, and they all kind of meet in this middle area of the spider. So, stroke, stroke. I like to do the top 2 first. And then I come back and I turn it around and do the bottom 2. You can make them as long as you want. Okay. Oops, I got a goober. Probably should have got some fresh paint. Okay, let's do this guy. Down here and do these guys. You'll be really good at spider legs too when we're done. So now I'm going to turn this over so I can do the bottom legs, and they all go, they go basically the same way as the other ones, the top ones. That one got a little fat, but oh well, it'll be okay. And of course, these are going to get a highlight lined on them. You had to know that, right? So 8, I'm glad they don't have more than 8 legs. We'd be here all night. Okay, last set of legs. And it's the worst looking leg. Oh well, it'll be okay. It's a spider. Doesn't matter. So each of those legs gets a little highlight of Indian turquoise, or turquoise as they're calling it now. And it's not a big highlight, just a little, like from the tip in. You can even go onto those legs that you just put on. It'll be okay. So just a touch. Whew, that was a big touch. Oh well, it'll be okay. Like I say, it's going to be okay. Another. More legs. Glad I didn't get carried away with spiders. And, oh, you don't care. Oh, the cutest spiders ever. Thank you. I appreciate that. I tried not to make them too involved. Kind of easy. Okay, almost done with those anyway. Okay, and now each of those spiders have two little eyes because they didn't look right without little eyes, and those are just dots of warm white. So I'm just going to take my liner brush and add some pick up some warm white and just set down a couple of little eyes on each spider. Now if you want to go through the trouble of giving them pupils and all that stuff, you're more than welcome to do it. But I just thought giving them the eyes was enough. If you wanted to get real cute with them, you could line a little bit of hair on them, make it a hairy spider with thin warm white. That'd be cute, or slate gray, one of those. All right, so sprinkles. Now the sprinkles are just set downs of whatever colors you have on your palette. So I'm gonna get into my liner brush, get into my Irish moss, and I'm just gonna set down some sprinkles of Irish moss here and there. They don't have to be where I put them. They can be wherever you want them. They don't have to be perfect. That's my mantra. Doesn't have to be perfect. 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see, anywhere else I want to put a green one? And then I'm going to get into, let's get into country red. And add some country red sprinkles. I probably want to make them a little bigger because they do get a highlight dot, of course. Let's see, let's put one up here. I think I put one over here. My sprinkles are not very well shaped, but it'll be okay. Sprinkles I've looked at lately haven't been perfect either. Right? Let's put a red one there. And maybe one here. I put some purple on there. Do I want... I think I'm going to do purple iris. Or no, I did Perfect Perry. So Perfect Perry we used as a base coat in these negative spaces. So if you want to get out a little dot of Perfect Perry, you can. Or you could use the purple petal, or you could use the purple iris. Too many choices, maybe. But Perfect Perry is what I used. It's what it says in the directions anyway. And let's see, let's do one here. I'm trying to keep my hands out of it. You know how it is with dots. We always seem to get our hands in them. That's a really bad one. Let's see, let's do some golden straw. I think you get the idea. I'm just picking colors off the palette. Let's do that one here. Here. I'm not even counting these. I don't care if there's even or odd numbers. Let's put another one over here. Here. Now keep in mind all of these sprinkles going to get a highlight dot, so don't get too carried away. And let's see, Indian turquoise, or the turquoise. We want to add some of that to spaces that don't have sprinkles. And if you want to pull orange in, you can do that. I don't think I did. Let's see. Let's put one here. And I don't know where else. Right here. I think I need sprinkles here and here and here. So I think I'm going to pull in maybe some more purple ones. Because purple's such a cool color. Definitely a Halloween color. I'm going to put a purple one here. And let's do one here. I think that'll work. So when these sprinkles are dry, maybe you need one right there. Let's put a red one there. No, we got too many red ones up there. Let's put a green one. Yeah. So when those are dry, you want to add a highlight dot in the top of each one of them. But as always, we're going to take our liner brush and some thin desert sand, and each one of these sprinkles has a little shadow painted next to it, of course, because we don't want them to be just out there laying on top. We want them to look like they're actually kind of tucked into the whipped cream a little bit. So I'm just going to go and add a little shadow of desert sand next to each one. And I'm going to change the side that it goes on dependent on where it is on the whipped cream. See how that kind of sinks them in there a little bit? So when I go over to this side, I'm going to go on the left side. And this doesn't have to take long. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just need to give them that little shadow so it kind of anchors them into the whipped cream. See, that one wasn't even close to the whipped cream, to the sprinkle. I gotta turn this over because I just know I'm gonna get my hands in them. So, let's see. And there's probably always going to be one that I forget. All right. So, the only thing we really have left to do are those highlight dots on the sprinkles and the lettering. And the lettering is done with soft black and a liner brush. And what I like to do is I always like to load my liner brush and then kind of flatten it out a little bit. So I have kind of a square tip. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it has a little bit of a square tip when I do lettering like this. And now it is nighttime. It's later here in Oklahoma, so I'm not guaranteeing how this lettering is going to come out. But you just want to paint that lettering with that liner brush kind of flattened out so it gives you some width on your lettering. Get your little dot. Oh, and you know what? I did go through and come back and kind of add the little stirrups Just easy peasy little kind of triangles, the top and bottom of some of the letters. Just kind of gives them a little more character. The C gets it on the ends here. And again, if you want to do your lettering with a marker, that's fine. I don't mind at all. So just add those little stirrups. It's reading pretty good now. Okay. All right. Glad I didn't name this something longer. So the lettering doesn't have to take forever. Although it seems like it is. All right, one more word. We just have a little bit of shading to do on the next to the lettering, and I think in those highlight dots on the sprinkles, and you've got a done piece. And I did it almost in 2 hours. Wow, pretty cool. I like to keep it at 2 hours. Sometimes I get a little long, and I apologize. So let me know your thoughts on whether you want to start maybe an hour earlier or something. I'm open to suggestions. Just trying to find a time that doesn't compete with too many other people. I'd rather just compete with your dinner and your sleep, because those we can all do without, right? All right. 2 more letters. Woohoo! These are easy. No stirrups on them. And ta-da! Now I'm going to dry this only because I want to show you where the shading is. An hour earlier would be nice. I think that would be good too. But I'll let you know on my Facebook page. So I'm just going to take my flat brush. Normally I go through this whole spiel of lining a shadow, but for some reason I got lazy this time. I'm just going to take my flat brush and a float of desert sand, and I'm just going to tuck it in here and there on the lettering. So I'm going to the right side of the letters. I'm not being real careful. I just wanted to add a little bit of shading on these letters, because it just wouldn't be right if I didn't, right? It wouldn't be me. But this way is much faster than the way I usually do it. That doesn't mean I'm giving up the old way I used to do it. But for this piece, I decided you worked hard enough. We could just float our shading in there. And it adds a little bit to the lettering, I think. All right. So I'm going to take my liner brush, and I'm just going to go through and put a little warm white highlight dot in the top of each of these. See, I told you I missed one with the shading, and I did. Each of these sprinkles. Okay, so I think probably next month we'll start at 6 o'clock Central instead of 7, and I'll change that on all the postings and stuff, because it seemed like I waited forever to get started on this. So quick little highlight dot in the top of each of the sprinkles. It adds so much. And I do believe that I'm going to call that done. You just want to add a wire hanger, a jute hanger. I have these wonderful Halloween beads if you want to add some beads. Got lots of those. So anyway, thank you so much. And I really appreciate y'all being here. And I hope that if you didn't paint along, that you enjoy painting along with the replay. And oh, you know what? I just saw something we didn't do. Look at that. It's a good thing I was still talking. We need to come in and add some warm white highlights on our pumpkin here. And I'm just going to add those like in the top of this handle and in the top of each flute. Oh, that really makes a difference. I'm so glad I noticed that before we signed off. So just a little scrub of warm white, and I think I added a little bit in the bottom of each flute also. Oh, that just really brightens it up. So I'm so glad I caught that before I left. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so glad to be having these meetings again so we can deal with our addiction to Halloween. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the piece. And I'd love to see your pieces when you get done painting them, to post them. I think you can post them on, if you just tag Sandy LaFleur, I'll end up seeing them. Anyway, thank you so much. If you have any questions, just write them in the comments or email me, and I'll be happy to answer them as I can. You are so welcome, and I hope you all sleep well tonight, enjoy your dinners, and I'll see you next month.